I teach my students to keep their weight still and not to swing hard in order to create a lot of power. So I want to explain to you why that works that way and where power comes from in the swing that I teach. Power isn't about speed. Power is about swing path, proper swing path, a shallow, circular, and descending swing path. That amounts to power, and it happens in multiple ways. So for example, shallow. What shallow does is it creates the widest path into the ball. Shallow means the club is traveling from the inside to out. So when you run a shallow path, you're running the long way home into the ball. So here's a shallow path, here's a steep path. When you run a steep path, you're taking the shortest distance from the top of the backswing to the ball. There's no room to create power, which is why you have to swing hard when you come over the top, and yet you still don't create power, right? So shallow creates power. Creates power because of the wide swing path, but also because it eliminates spin on the ball. It reduces spin on the ball to a really ideal spin rate. So the less the ball spins backwards, the more time it could spend going forward. And also the less spin you put on the ball, the less it's going to veer offline. Now, circular. Circular comes from the fact that we keep our weight still. When you keep your weight still, any circle, in order to create a circle, the center of the circle must stay still. Just think about a nautical compass or your axle compared to your wheel. The center of the circle must stay still. In order to do that, you keep your weight still. And what that does is it creates a circular swing path. A circular swing path is how this thing works. This is in its dynamic optimum when it works in a circle. It's why Iron Byron swings the club in a circle. You know, it's a swing. It should swing in a circle. Swings do that. Next, descending. Because we not only keep our weight still, but we keep our weight on the lead foot, we determine that the bottom of the arc for the swing is going to be directly in front of the lead foot. Well, what that does is it creates a descending blow down through the ball. That descending blow creates solid contact and it compresses the ball. So when you add up the three, a wide swing path with low spin rate, and then a circular swing that allows this thing to work in its dynamic optimum, and then the descending swing path, which gives you really solid contact, that's what amounts to power. And that's how these things work. You know, if swinging hard created power, the average golfer wouldn't have an issue with power. You guys would all hit it far because you all swing hard. Instead, it's not like that. When you look at a good swing on tour, you see the power building through impact. Well, that's because they're also not swinging hard. Many tour pros, the whole purpose of staying within yourself is not to overswing, not to swing too hard, because these things don't work that way. You know, this is a tool, and using any tool has an optimum method for using it. You know, you could swing a hammer really hard, but it doesn't mean that you're going to hit the nail on the head. So there's an ideal that has to occur. And when you create a shallow, circular, and descending swing, not only do you create power, you create ample power. I bomb it amongst my peer group, which is pros and Division I college athletes. I always hit it long amongst them. I never swung hard. It wasn't about swinging hard. It's about creating proper swing path. Now, how do you create proper swing path? Well, it's all about the setup position. You know, you've tried, and traditional golf instruction begs you to try and create proper swing path during the swing. And they ask you to do it by managing a bunch of movements. The problem is that in traditional golf, they neglect one very simple principle about the anatomy. There's a left side and there's a right side. And there's a distinct difference in how each side of your body operates. And when you break it down, it's actually quite lovely for golf, because if you notice, your lead side, because of this 3/4 rotating shoulder joint, creates a shallow or inside out natural swing. Your lead side doesn't want to take the club this way. It hits into the shoulder joint, and it's nothing that the shoulder joint wants to do. It's that quarter of rotation that isn't there for you. Oppositely, your right arm works this way. Your right arm wants to come over the top and hit the ball very steeply. That doesn't create good shots in your long game and your short game. Now the irony, right, is I'm a right-handed golfer and I'm right-hand dominant, right? So when you're a right-handed golfer, you take the club, you put it in your right hand, you attack on the ball, and you frustrate yourself, and you never get what you want. Instead, if you can first identify the difference between left and right, and then say to yourself, okay, well, I definitely don't want to be in my trail side in order to hit a ball. So how do I get in my lead side? Well, it's very simple. The setup position that I teach is what allows you to get into your lead side. And then once you set that setup position, all you have to do is keep your weight still and allow the club to swing along the line of your body. And you create these really easy, effortless, powerful, tight draws as your stock shot. You know, you can hit any shot you want, but your stock shot is a powerful, tight draw. So if you look at me here in the setup position, I pivot. So 70% of my weight falls onto my lead foot. And then I grip the club. And then I sole the club without sacrificing that closed setup position. I establish a preset in the setup position that's going to permit me to do what? Well, make a shallow swing. Because when your shoulders are closed, you're going to make a shallow swing. When your shoulders open, you're going to make a steep swing. You know, in traditional golf, they do a lot of this to try and help you to make a shallower swing. They want you to tip the club backwards like this. Please don't ever do that to yourself. It's absolutely ridiculous. The problem is they're trying to get the club to a shallower position, but they're doing it with the wrong part of the body. By trying to tip your hands back, if your shoulder's open, the club's never going to be shallow. Just because it's laid out inside like this doesn't mean it's shallow. Shallow means that it's coming from the inside. And the only way to get the club to come from the inside is to have your shoulders closed. Well, the only way to get shoulders closed is to get them closed in the setup position. And then because we're loading weight on the lead foot, that's what creates that circular and descending path. So we establish the shallow, circular, and descending right in the setup position. Now, if you swing hard, this is the reason why I don't want my students to swing hard. If you swing hard in the swing, what's going to happen is your trail side will overtake your lead side and spin your shoulders open. That's just what's going to happen. If you're a right dominant person, or just if you have any instinct to attack on the ball in that direction, this right shoulder is going to come forward. And that never produces anything good. That's an over-the-top steep swing. You're going to hit slices and pulls and have really weak power even if you hit it solidly. Instead, though, when you recognize that your left side or your lead side is the dominant side, and you respect that and you hold this position of your closed shoulders through impact, immediately the club starts doing exactly what I'm talking about. Shallow, circular, and descending.